Good evening. I'd like to convene the Single Family Design Board for December 20th, 2021. May I have roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll begin roll call. Chair Miller.
Here.
Vice Chair Kalas.
Here.
Board Member Arakalian.
Here.
Board Member Klein.
Here.
Board Member Motisha.
Here.
And Board Member Ziegler.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Moving to general business, public comment. Any member of the public may address the board for up to 2 minutes on any subject within the jurisdiction that is not scheduled on this agenda for a public discussion. Ms. Burkhart, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on an item not on today's agenda, please raise your hand by following the instructions on screen and raising your hand using the hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. While we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for items not on today's agenda?
Thank you, Ms. Burkhart. We received one general public comment from G. Christopher Davis and Pamela Dilday Davis that was distributed to the board prior to this meeting. And I do not see any hands raised, so I'll turn it back to the board.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the approval of the minutes for the Single Family Design Board from November 22nd, 2021. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I'll move.
Chair Miller, if I could interrupt before you go too far. The reason we put this one on hold was there was an issue about the straw votes being in the minutes, whether or not that was okay. And we did check with the city attorney's office and it's perfectly fine, perfectly legal for them to be there. So we will leave them there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, so I heard a motion. I believe it was Jonathan spoke first.
Yes.
May I have a second, please?
I second it.
Thank you. Should we go through the items?
Yes, Chair Miller, you should go through the items. Thank you. We'll pull them up in just a moment.
Okay.
There we go.
Item 1, 35 Rincon Vista Road, or is that 36?
36, Chair Miller.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item 2, 628 Mission Ridge Road. Item 3, 650 Rockwood Drive. Item 4, 1726 Franceschi Road. Item number 5, 140 Loma Media Road. Okay, hearing no changes or comments, may I have roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll begin the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to the approval of the minutes for the Single Family Design Board for December 6th, 2021. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I make that motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go through the items. Okay, we have 3102 Sea Cliff. Item B, 459 El Cielito Road. Item C, 565 Arroyo Avenue.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Chair Miller. I just realized right now, these are the consent meetings for today's
Okay, well,
meeting. So we need to pull up
Well,
we
Ms.
got-
Rydell.
since we
Let's-
just went through it, Barbara, can we just go ahead and approve them, even though it's,
Out of order?
yeah.
I think that should be fine if you want to do that.
Yeah,
We
so,
need to remake a motion, right?
yeah, I reword the motion to approve the consent calendar for December 20th, 2021.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. So we need to review December 6th, 2021, right? Ms. Burkhart?
Yes, that's correct, Chair Miller. We have them here.
Okay, great. May I have
Sorry
a
about
mo-
that.
That's okay. May I have a motion for approval, please?
I'll move.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Let's go through the items. Item 1, we have 1218 Shoreline Drive. Item 2, we have 1135 Harbor Hills Lane. Item 3, we have 1191 Los Alturas Road.
Chair Miller, if I could interrupt on this item, I just wanted
Yes.
to let the board know for number 4 of the motion, if we could scroll down a bit, Ms. Rydell. Thank you. This PV panel study is not actually something this board can require of the applicant, but we will leave it in the minutes since it was part of the motion. I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Great. And just for the sake of people any watching, what is a PV panel?
Photovoltaic, but it's
So it has something to do
basically
with the- Sorry.
it's solar panels, but they're called photovoltaic panels.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. I guess we can continue scrolling.
Yes, thank you.
So we have item 4, 813 Arguello Road. Oof. Item 5 is 347 Salida del Sol. Okay, hearing no changes or comments, may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. I believe the next one is the December 13th consent or today. Is that correct? Or is it?
Yes, that's correct. December 13th.
Okay.
Consent meeting.
If Ms. Burkhardt, if you'd like to go through those items.
Yes, if we could pull up the consent minutes for the December 13th meeting, Ms. Rydell. Thank you. Item A was for 860 Summit Road. The action was for final approval. Item B was for 567 Litchfield Lane. The action was for project design approval and final approval with comments. And the reviewers were board members Motisha and Klein.
Great, thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. I believe that's all the items to be read into the agenda. Is that correct, Ms. Burkhardt?
That is correct, Chair Miller. That's everything for the minutes that we have
Okay.
today. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Going on to announcements, requests by applicants for continuances and withdrawals, future agenda items and appeals. Do we have anything like that before us, Ms. Burkhardt?
Yes, Chair Miller, I have several announcements today. First, I would like to announce the recent appointment by City Council of David Bretlinger to the public at large position of the SFDB. He will begin serving in the new year. And this also marks the end of Board Member Ziegler's term on the SFDB, as he was serving as our public at large position. Mr. Ziegler, we sincerely appreciate your service to the community of Santa Barbara, and we appreciate you agreeing to stay on the SFDB an extra 6 months until your successor could be appointed. You are greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ziegler, for your input and participation.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Chair Miller.
And then I have one other announcement. It's more of a reminder for the board. We do have some newer members, and it's just good for everyone to be reminded that private views are not within the purview of the SFDB. You should focus your comments on how a project does or does not meet relevant findings. So this is the part of the neighborhood preservation findings where we look at good neighbor guidelines. And it states that a project shall comply with these guidelines regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting, but not private views. And while the guidelines do discuss consideration of neighbor views and state that working with neighbors is strongly encouraged, this cannot be used as a basis for denying a project. So just wanted to make the board aware of that. And I have no further announcements, Chair Miller.
All right, thank you. And I do not believe at this time we have any subcommittee reports. Is that correct?
That's correct. No subcommittee reports.
All right, thank you. All right, let's move on to the items. Item number 1 is 210 Fossil Tourist Road. This is a continued item for final approval. Proposal to construct a 279 square foot addition to the first floor and 672 square foot addition to the upper floor of an existing 2,645 square foot single family residence with attached 396 square foot garage, expansion of existing decks, and conversion of the 800 square foot basement to an accessory dwelling unit. Existing landscape to remain. No new hardscape area proposed. The proposed 4,504 square foot of development on a 15,682 square foot lot is 103% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio. Final approval is requested. Project plans must demonstrate substantial conformance to the plans that received project design approval on October 11th, 2021. The project was last reviewed on October 11th, 2021. Do we have minutes of that meeting to read into the record?
Yes, we do.
If Vice Chair Kalas, if you'd like to read those into the record, that'd be great.
I would love to do that. Okay, so the motion made at the last meeting where this was heard was that the project be given design approval and continued indefinitely back to the full board for final approval with the following comments. The board supports the project as presented with the removal of the double chimney, the new columns that support the decks, and the removal of some of the eastern deck. The hillside design district and slope lot criteria have been met as stated in subsection 22.69.050 of the City of Santa Barbara Municipal Code. Specifically, the development, including the proposed structures and gradings, is appropriate to the site, is designed to avoid visible scarring, and does not significantly modify the natural topography of the site or the natural appearance of any ridgeline or hillside. Also, the development maintains a scale and form that blends with the hillside by minimizing the visual appearance of structures and the overall height of the structures. Item 3, the neighborhood preservation ordinance criteria have been met as stated in subsection 22.69.050 of the City of Santa Barbara Municipal Code. Item A, the proposed development is consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. Item B, the proposed development is compatible with the neighborhood in its size, bulk, and scale, and is appropriate to the site and the neighborhood. Item C, the proposed buildings and structures are designed with quality architectural details, and the proposed materials and colors maintain the natural appearance of the hillside or ridgeline. Item D, the proposed project does not include the removal of or significant impact on any designated specimen tree, historic tree, or landmark tree. Item E, the public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. Item F, the project generally complies with good neighborhood guidelines regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting. And item 3, the development, including proposed structures and grading, preserves significant public scenic views of and from the hillside. The motion was made by Mr. Motisha. It was seconded by Mr. Arakelian, and it was passed 5-0 with 1 dissenting, and Mr. Ziegler was absent. The motion carried.
Thank you. Brilliantly said. Do we have a representative of the project? It looks like basically they just want to have to go through the details of it.
And Chair Miller, if I could interrupt before
Sure.
the applicant gets started, I just wanted to announce that Mr. Ziegler will recuse himself from this item as he is, it's located in close proximity to his residence.
All right, thank you.
Sure. And Mr. Bear, I believe you are presenting on behalf of your team today. You may go ahead and present your project.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear
Thank
you.
Okay, great. Hello, commissioners. Happy holidays. Thanks for your time this afternoon. So, as the project was introduced, we're here for final approval. The project has not changed since what we last presented in terms of the plans that were presented for project design approval. We've been working through the structural engineering and some of the detailing, and are back in front of you for final review. The floor area has not changed. The size of the proposed decks has not changed, so it's really just been working through the details. So we can just quickly move through the set. I would move, I suppose, to sheet 5, which is G.01, just as a quick refresher for those to make sure you remember the project. So here's some context photos of the project. Photo 13 shows the existing house up on the hill there. We can revisit the context photos if needed. So I would move forward to sheet 13. We've moved
Mr.
quarter-inch
Bear,
plans.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I forgot to remind you that your team has 15 minutes to present this project. So we're going to put a clock up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Barbara.
Sorry, I
I'll
forgot
keep it
to
quick.
let you know. Okay, thank you.
No problem. So we have quarter-inch plans. What we presented at project design approval was 8-inch. The existing demo plans are before us in the set. If we need to revisit those, we can. I'll just point out a few minor changes that have occurred since project design approval. Actually, go back one sheet if you could. You can see here at the bottom of this plan along grid line 5, we have 4 proposed columns that move up in elevation to support the proposed deck and trellis. We had to remove a column between grid lines B and C, kind of rework this a little bit just to get the stairway down to work. We had a column kind of falling in the middle of that stair between those 2 columns on grid line B and C previously. So that's a minor change to note. We can see that in elevation as we go. Next sheet, sheet 13, we have a few other minor changes here. I'll make mention of door 104 is shown as a sliding door. And actually, I think we had revised set. I apologize as we've been working on this since submittal. But doors 102, 103, and 104 have been revised to be pocketing sliders. And I apologize, it looks like the change to doors 102 and 103 is not represented in this floor plan, but essentially we removed the solid wall in between doors 102 and 103 and made that a pocketing slider along with door 104. But with that change not represented in this set that was submitted, I'm not sure if should I just present the set as drawn, or is it okay to make mention verbally to some of the changes that have occurred since this set was submitted?
Just go ahead and do what you need to do, and if we have questions, we'll ask you. Okay, great. That was the only change I was going to make mention of on this sheet. If you move forward to the next floor plan, I don't believe there's any changes of note on this plan. We've just been working on the details to the trellis that you see represented at the south end of this plan, which we have some details of. Moving forward to the elevation sheet, which I believe is sheet 16. Sorry, next sheet. So you can just see some of the development of the exterior elevations. What we presented at our last hearing was hand-rendered elevations, so we've gotten that into our mid model. Primarily, you can see some of the changes or just evolutions of these columns I mentioned in elevation 2, along with the trellis above. And then not really much change to make mention of to the other elevations. Moving to the next sheet. No real changes here. I believe this is consistent with what we presented at the last hearing as well. Next sheet, we've been developing some building sections further, which you can see here. Again, these are more for construction than for design review. The section 5 on the top left was the one section we did have at our last hearing, which we had generated to demonstrate where the building sits in terms of max roof heights and so forth, but no real change to what's represented here other than just development for the building sections. And moving to the next sheet, we have some enlarged floor plans, which we're developing primarily for the interior stair, which really isn't purview, but we've been developing some of the enlarged plans of this entry element, which you see in drawings 1, and the balcony above in drawing 2. Next sheet, we have some details we've been developing. So we've got our bishop's cap at the chimney up in details 9 and 12, and our typical traditional mission style tile roofing details. We also have our
trellis details, which you can see in detail 8 and 7. So we've got a wood trellis that we're proposing on top of these plaster columns, which you can see in detail 7 and 8, and a more detailed and large profile of that plaster column, the plaster cap in detail 10. So again, we can revisit any of these during the questions if needed, but moving on, the next sheet has our door and window schedule, which was somewhat underdeveloped at the time of this submittal. We've since developed it further, but we're proposing the Arcadia Custom Steel Look doors and windows, which is an aluminum product we've been using on a lot of projects recently that has a steel look. It's very cost effective for giving you that same steel look that we're always aiming for on these Spanish style projects. So next sheet, please. We've got door and window details, which are proposed here, wood window sills. I think these details were an earlier iteration before we've since refined, which again, I apologize for, but these aren't showing the aluminum steel look windows that I just mentioned, which we've developed since this submittal. And then this may be the last architectural sheet in this set. If you can move forward one more. And we get into our structural drawings, which we can review if there's any structural related questions, but I think I'll stop there. It's been primarily developing the plaster and column cap details I just made mention of, as well as some of the roofing details and details and the door and window specifications. So I think I'll stop there and open it up to questions. Thank you, board members.
All right, thank you. Ms. Burkhart, did we get any public comment?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon located at the bottom of your screen. While we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Ms. Burkhart. We did not receive any written correspondence for this item. And as of right now, I do not see any hands raised in the attendees list. So I'll hand it back to the board.
All right, thank you. I'll bring it back to the board for questions. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any questions, please?
Yes, I do have a few questions. I'm looking at, I guess it's sheet 17 of the set. It's the south elevation proposed. I'm just trying to get clarity on the condition that would be the final condition on these pair of French doors that you were talking about, Mr. Baer, items, I guess they were doors 102, 3, and 4. So are they going to look different? Those were on the second level, I believe.
Correct.
Are those going to look different than what we are seeing in elevation? When you say they're pocketed, they are pocketed into the exterior wall. Is that correct? But they will still read as a 2-leaf French door?
Yeah, and I think, is it possible for me to share my screen? Is that allowed? Because I can easily show, I've got the update drawing here I can share, given that that change wasn't reflected in this set.
Yeah, Mr. Baer, unfortunately, we don't have that capability at this time.
Okay, so I'm just trying to,
Remember, Klaus, yeah, essentially, if you look at the French doors that are on the left hand between grid lines B and C, that pair of French doors, we're moving in the outer left and outer right side slightly, and then having this one door centered in that opening that would have 2 door panels that would both pocket outward into the solid wall at either side. And then we'll have a similar condition over at the series of doors that's kind of centered on grid line D, where the total width of that door will be slightly reduced just in order to get enough solid wall on either end to pocket 2 door panels into as well. So they'll be very similar to one another. Instead of, in this case, we have 2 French doors on the left and then this 3-panel pocketing door on the right. And we went to a situation where we have 2 more similar two-panel pocketing doors that'll pocket
So
the solid wall.
So I just want to, I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but I just want to make sure we're clear on this since we don't have drawings in front of us that are reflecting what you're requesting. So on the third floor on grid line D, you have a traditional pair of French that have two side lights. I'm assuming that is somewhat similar to what you're proposing in these two locations, but rather than side lights, you would have another full door in place of the side lights, and that's how it would read. Effectively, it would read like 4 French doors in a row.
Essentially, yes.
In
Correct.
one opening with no plaster between them.
Correct.
Okay, and that would be in lieu of 102 and 103, those would become one door, and 104 would reduce in width to be similar.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And you're still keeping the post then on the second level that is currently showing between door 102 and 103. That post remains for the trellis there.
One moment.
So that would be on the center
correct.
line of
Yeah.
that new door.
So that'll be right on the center line of the new door.
Okay. If we could go to sheet A 0.11. I think it's maybe the third or second sheet in the set. I just noticed that there's a double note there in your site plan keynotes. So I think one of those is redundant. Nevertheless, the required open yard that you are showing is in the upper corner, I'll call it, of the lot, correct?
Correct, yes. Where
This is the
4
7th page in the
indicated
set,
on the
if it
plan.
helps staff to find the sheet. It's page 7 in the PDF set. There you go. So it's that post
Correct,
shade
yes.
area in the corner.
Yes, thanks for catching the redundant keynote, but keynote 4 is labeled on the set in the northern portion of the property where our open yard is.
Okay, great. I had a question on materials, window materials, but you've answered that. So we do not have a detail in this set that is for the bypass or pocketed French doors, right? We're lacking that in this set.
Correct, yeah, and apologies on that. We're essentially furring in the exterior wall will remain as located in this drawing set, and we're creating a furred in wall on the interior to create the void for the pocketing.
Okay. Next question that I have is on the floor plans, I'm a little bit confused by the fills and the pochets. So I'm looking at, it's not so much the demo sheets. For example, sheet 13 of the set, of the PDF set. In the partition legend, there is I'll call it a solid gray poche, which alludes to new framing, new construction. There's also a hatched poche that shows existing construction to remain. But then there's a third poche that is showing on the floor plans themselves, and it's kind of a gray poche, but it looks like it's showing maybe insulation. I don't know what that poche is indicating, and I'm trying to understand what the difference is. Could you?
Yes, so the indicates represents existing walls, and then any walls that have essentially aren't that are proposed. So we've got a gray fill that at the case of new exterior walls includes the bad insulation hatch over top of it, which I can understand the confusion. And then on the interior walls where we wouldn't need the insulation, you'll see just the gray fill as consistent in the legend. So any walls on the exterior that have the gray fill and not the diagonal crosshatch, but in some instances do have the bad insulation. Those are new walls.
Okay, so as long as there's gray, solid gray fill, that is new construction, regardless of whether it's showing that cellular condition or not.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think the last two questions I had were related to details. So on sheet 17 of the set, where we see the trellis on the south facing elevation,
We're not looking at the last set that we submitted.
No, I didn't get it in time. And sorry, my team member was just mentioning that we did insert a more current set that we had communicated with Barbara on. And Barbara, I don't know if that got lost in translation or if that's perhaps available to open. That may help some of these inconsistencies we've been identifying.
I received a new materials board and a new site conditions from you. Let me look through and see. This plan set is from dated 12/20. Oh, these are,
Yeah, I think we
sorry.
have.
This plan set is dated.
Yeah, there was a plan set that had been sent on December 13th.
Let me see what's happening while maybe you can talk about the materials and I'll try to work that out quickly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Barbara. Sorry, go ahead, Board Member Kalassi.
yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and pose my questions, and then if they're addressed in the more recent set, perhaps you could just respond accordingly and we'll deal with it that way. So on the south elevation, when I look at the trellis, there are two inconsistencies that I'm seeing with the trellis details that are on the subsequent detail sheets. And so I'm trying to understand what the real proposed condition is. So on the elevation in the sheet that we are looking at in front of us, this appears to be a two-tiered trellis, and the posts appear to emanate from the columns. And Barbara just popped up on screen again, so I'm not sure if she has something to share.
Yeah, these are the most recent plan sets that I have, November 9th.
Okay, so for purposes of our discussion, we'll continue here, Mr. Bear. And
yes.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a two-tiered trellis, and then I'm seeing the columns, or the posts rather, for the trellis emanating from the columns, the plastered columns. But when I go to the detail sheet further in the set,
sheet 20, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to scroll. It's a relatively large file, and I'm scrolling on my screen too, but it takes a second. Yeah. It's actually sheet 21. So maybe staff could scroll to sheet 21, please.
And I'm sorry, I do see a set marked December 13th. I apologize. I'll try to get it ready for Ms. Rydell.
Yeah, I think to get to your question, that what's represented in the details is correct, and the elevation was incorrect and has been updated in this more revised set to show the more three-tiered horizontal members of the trellis.
Okay, but what about the relationship between the plastered column?
The post does emanate from the plaster column up to the first beam member, which will be reflected here, I think, when Barbara pulls up the more current drawing set. So essentially, we'll see it here in a moment, but detail 8, that detail was revised to show correctly that cross-section beam raised up with a post coming down centered on the plaster column beneath it.
So detail 8 and detail 7 have been revised.
Correct.
Okay,
I apologize. We should be, it sounds like we'll be able to see that here momentarily.
okay. And then I'm just wondering what the overhang is, what the distance of extension of that lower member is. I'm just wondering what those relationships are from a dimensional standpoint. Because I don't see dimensions strung for those.
So from the center line of post out to the furthest right edge in detail 7 for reference is 4'6".
And how large is the I'll call it column, the plaster column?
That is 2 feet and in width. I'm sorry, it is 1'6", which we have added that dimension to detail 10 in the set that is getting pulled up.
Okay, so
here.
roughly 3'9" is how far it would extend at a plaster condition, but we don't have any of those. So it's just 4'9" from the center line of post to that most extreme condition. Is that correct?
So, I'm sorry, from the outside face of plaster to the most extreme extension of the beam. Is that the dimension you're asking for?
Yeah, I just did the math on that. If it's 4'6" from center line and it's an 18-inch pile SJ, you're subtracting 9 inches, right? So it's 3'9".
Correct.
Okay, but we don't have a condition like that anywhere because it's just the post that pops up out of that plaster column, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then my last question before we hopefully get updated plans to look at is the bishop's cap. So in our notes, in our motion that we read, I believe that the double chimney cap was eliminated. That's what I'm recalling. And yet we're still seeing a double cap here in detail 9. Is that correct?
Yeah, so that's been a revision from what was presented at project design approval. If you recall, we had a much different sort of double chimney condition in our first project design approval hearing, which we then went to a different approach for at our last hearing in which we got approval. But we've made a minor revision of that as we got further into this that we felt was just the most appropriate solution. So you can see that represented on this perspective here on T.01.
Okay. So is it possible for us to go back to the PDA and take a look at what that chimney stack looked like, that termination looked like in the project that was given project design approval? That's a question for staff.
Yes, we do have the old plans. I also want to let you know these are the most current set now on the screen. Thank you for your patience.
Great,
you,
thanks,
Ms.
Barbara.
Burkhardt.
Sure. So this is the set that you saw last time that received PDA.
Okay, so if we could look at, I believe it would be the westerly elevation.
Probably sheet 10 or 11. Back 1.
So it was just a singular cap that had a chamfer at the top.
Right.
Okay. And then if we can go to the, if we can go back to the current set then, please. And if we could look at the, I guess the westerly and the south elevation on the current set.
This is Heidi Rydell, the person controlling the plans. If you can give me direction on what page, whether it's the presenter or whoever's asking the question, or I can flip through. It just might be faster.
Sheet
if someone can direct
17,
the page.
sheet 17.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. Oh, and there's the, okay, great. Could we zoom in on the south elevation, the proposed south elevation? Because that's addressing the windows and the trellis. Okay, great. And then if we could just go back to the detail sheet, Mr. Bear, perhaps you could direct staff to what sheet that is again, please.
Sheet 21.
Okay. Those were the only questions I have. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
All right, thank you. I actually had a list of questions, but they were all answered. So at this time, I have no questions either. So I'll bring it back to the board for comments. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any comments, please?
The only comment that I have is that I feel like the posts feel a little spindly on top of the columns. Perhaps we could go back to, I think it was sheet 17 again, take
What
one more
size are-
look at that south.
Are they 6 by 6?
I think they're required to be at Sci-Fire. I think they are.
They are 8 by 8.
They're 8 by
Oh.
8.
Okay.
Oh, so you've included a corbel here then also. This looks like it has a corbel detail that it did not have before between the post and the lower member. That helps.
Yes, that detail is actually on sheet 22. We have a enlarged detail of that if that's helpful, but yes, we proposed that where the posts meet that first column, or sorry, the post meets the first beam.
And that's the what you're calling the wood bolster.
Correct.
I think my only comment about that then looking at this is that I don't know, it looks a little bit awkward. I'm used to these bolsters being a little bit more horizontal in nature and not quite having this big belly in them. That's really my only comment. I have no other comments about the project. Thank you for the clarifications.
All right, thank you. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any comments, please?
I do. I believe that these updated plans are in substantial conformance with the plans given at PDA, and I believe it's ready to move forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please? Ouch, sorry.
I agree with Board Member Arkillian. That's my only comment.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I think the changes and the things that they've done for us make the house, the project become a little bit more in our guidelines, and it looks a lot better. I support the project. Thank you.
Thank you. And I pretty much echo what was just said. With that, would someone like to entertain a motion, please? And they're here for final design, final approval, final PDA, if you wish to give them that. Mr. Arakalian, would you like to give it a shot?
Sure, I'll do my best. I would like to make a motion that we give the project final approval and the level and all and that all that the final plans that have been given are in substantial conformance with the plans given at PDA. Is there some slides I need to read through?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chair Miller and to Board Member Arakelian. The findings have already been made at project design approval, so that is a sufficient motion. I would like to clarify that you're granting final approval for the plans dated December 13th, 2021, just because we pulled them up during the meeting. But other than that, the motion is good.
Thank you.
And I believe Mr. Motisha seconded. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler, abstains, and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, board members. I
You're very
appreciate it.
welcome. You're welcome. And there is a 10-day appeal period for this project.
Okay, very good.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bear.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's
See you
move
next time.
on. All right, bye-bye. Let's move on to our next item. It is 333 Bramer Drive. This is another continued item. Project design approval and final approval is requested. There are two of slides here. Proposal to demolish an existing 1,714 square foot, one-story, single unit residence and attached garage, and a 113 square foot shed, and construct a new two-story, 4,359 square foot, single unit residence and a detached 749 square foot four-car garage. The project includes new balconies and patios. The proposed total of 771, I don't know why that's hard to say, square feet of development on a 50,779 square foot lot in a non-appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone is 114% of the guideline maximum floor to lot area ratio. A coastal exclusion has been granted for the project under the single family residence exclusion category. Project design approval and final approval are requested. Neighborhood preservation findings are required. Project was last reviewed on November 8th, 2021. Do we have minutes from that previous meeting to read into the record, please?
Yes, Chair Miller, we do. Let's bring them up. There we go. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If Vice Chair Kalas, if you'd be so kind.
Yes. The motion was made to continue indefinitely to the full board for project design approval with the following comments. The board is in favor of the project. The architecture represented and the quality of design is of the highest nature. The board appreciates the fact that a lot of the native vegetation is being retained on site. There's sufficient screening is provided on the east side of the parcel as well as the front in order to relate well to massing of the residents. The board requests that the applicant provide FARs for the immediately adjacent parcels. In general, the board can support the increase in FAR over guideline based upon the quality of the architecture and the size of the parcel. The board anticipates giving the project design approval and or final approval at the next meeting. The motion was made by myself, seconded by Mr. Arakelian, and it passed 5-0 with one abstention. That was Ziegler. Motion carried.
All right, thank you. Do we have a representative for this project, please?
Greetings, Chair Miller and board members.
Hello, welcome, Mr. Howes.
Thank you. Well, starting with the cover page, you will see that the garage is missing the second story ADU. We eliminated it. So that was a big improvement to the massing of the structure. And the next thing you'll notice, as you read in the project description, is that the FAR has gone up. We went back and forth with staff about whether or not the ADU was to be included in the FAR. And it was decided that that was not necessary, but then we were told the existing barn, which is at the back of the property, needed to be included in the FAR. So that's why this number is now higher than what we had before, which was 103%. But there's been no additional area added to the residence or garage. So, you know, the bottom line is that the visual mass of the proposal has been reduced with the elimination of the ADU. And the existing barn is barely visible behind the house anyway, and especially with the new garage, you'd have to be in just the right spot to see that. We've also done a more accurate assessment of FARs as you requested for the adjacent neighbors, as well as other larger properties in the immediate neighborhood. If we could go to PDF page 33, you will see here the project cited 114%. One neighbor is quite a bit smaller. The other one is similar, but you will see also there are a couple that exceed the FAR of this project at 122 and 119%. And on page 34, it's just a satellite view with the same overlay. And it's really difficult looking at a satellite view to be able to determine which have a high FAR and which have a low FAR. So the residence first floor plan, well, let's see, actually I want to back up. If we could go to PDF page 2. This would be the full site plan and the partial site plan. This would be a good time to address a letter that you received from a neighbor that was concerned that this project might involve importing fill to raise the building pad. And I just want to make clear that there is no such proposal. And as you noted in your minutes, the existing landscaping is being preserved. So we could not meet that objective if we were raising the pad. And there is no import, there is no export on this project. There's about 275 cubic yards of cut and fill, and the cut is coming from the crawl space excavation, and the fill is going to bringing the driveway up to the level of the garage and compaction losses. So really very minimal impact. So if we go to page 4, you will see that the garage plan, we've eliminated the stair that went to the second floor on the south end of it. That would be the towards the top of the sheet, and also have indicated 2 trash enclosures at the upper left and lower left corners of the garage. So if we go to page 5, please. In the lower right, if we could blow that up a little bit, that shows a typical ganged window and the trim around it and the reference to the details, which we'll get to. And on page 7, this gives you a better idea of how the garage looks with the overall composition. And actually the shape of this garage with the higher roof in the center is modeled after Green & Green's Blacker house. And on page 8, I've added to the materials palette to show the color of the aluminum clad windows and the stained colors for door and window trim and the eaves. And I also added the outdoor light fixture at the bottom right corner there. That's a custom fixture, so there is no cut sheet per se, but I show that the cap of that is 12 inches square, and the LED lamps would be a 40-watt equivalent. Then if we go to page 9, the elevations haven't really changed since the last presentation, except that I changed them from 3/16 to 1/4 inch scale. So they're over 2 pages now, but you can see the revised garage elevations at the bottom of the sheet, as well as an axonometric and elevation of the entry arbor and some materials call outs. Maybe we could zoom in on that.
I apologize. Could you tell me again which area you would like me to zoom in on?
Certainly, center left side of the sheet in the center, yeah. There you go. So those are the columns that are canted and are made from clinker bricks with some sandstone inclusions and a heavy timber trellis construction. And that's patterned after the Duncan Irwin house. If we go to page 10, that shows the other garage elevations. And page 11 shows sections through the garage. Sections DD and EE. And then pages 14 and 15. 14, well, they both show roof framing plans. Funny thing about this house, are you going to page 14? Please. I didn't say please, that's probably why we didn't get that page. The eaves are so broad that by the time there was a substantial backspan that made it almost to the ridge, so I figured might as well just frame the whole roof out of the 4x8 rafters. So that kind of necessitated a careful planning of the spacing of them, so they all looked even from the exterior. So some are a little greater than 2 feet on center and some are a little less than 2 feet on center, but it was important to get this planned out so that the contractor knew exactly what was intended. And if we go to page 16, please. That shows a typical window, which would be applicable to the doors as well. Maybe if we could zoom in on those. So you can see from detail 3, the casing is pretty much flush with the shakes, and the head casing is a little bit proud of that. And if you could go to page 17, please. Detail 1 and 2 are the details you saw before, though I have revised them to accommodate the 5/8 gypsum wallboard for the high fire hazard detail at the eave. And detail 4 is the typical details of the chimney caps, which would be copper with a heavy copper or bronze screen in them. And detail 5 is an axonometric and some framing details of the roof over the dining porch at the rear of the residence. And I think that's pretty much all I have in my presentation, so I'll turn it over to Aaron to comment on the landscaping.
Sure, if we could open up the landscape plans.
This is Heidi Rydell again. We only have one set of plans or the landscape plans in the a part of this PDF set.
They are. I'm about to get to them. Start with page 24, please.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is the hardscape plan. Not a whole lot of changes since PDA. We eliminated the parking area south of the garage and reconfigured some pathways there. Next page, please. Details sheets and some example photos of paving and whatnot on this sheet. The driveway and the walkway are pavers. We've got some flagstone down by the pond and fire pit, stepping stones throughout the property, and also decomposed granite pathways. The fencing and gate details are pretty simple. Metal picket detailing to match the existing gate and fences at the pool area. Next slide, please, or next sheet, I should say. Landscape lighting, we've just got path lights and some recessed wall lights, step lights, and their copper FX luminaire fixtures. There's the detail of the fire pit and a seat wall off the off a bedroom there. Next slide. Irrigation plan. Everything is drip. We are also capturing stormwater, which is that circle you see south of the pool area, which is also shown on the civil plans. We're capturing and reusing stormwater there. Next slide. Just irrigation details, nothing too exciting here. Next slide. The planting revisions from the last time, mainly just after my meeting with the fire department, we were allowed to maintain some of the existing natives and some of the existing palm trees. After the fire department, we had our site visit. So I added those plantings back into this plan. Other than that, no major changes to the plant palette. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm happy to answer any questions on landscape.
And we also have our planner, Shelby Messner-Janke, with us in case you have any questions she can answer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Did we get any public comment, Ms. Burkhart?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. And while we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Ms. Burkhart. We did receive one public comment letter from Jill and Mark Davis, and that was distributed to the board prior to this meeting. And at this time, I do not see any hands raised in the attendees audience. So I will bring it back to you.
All right, thank you. Bringing it back to the board for questions. Vice Chair Colas, do you have any questions, please?
I have one question. It appears as though the amount of square footage for the garage is just under 800 square feet.
Correct.
I'm assuming you're not required to pursue a modification for excess of garage space. Is that correct?
Exactly, because 800 square feet is allowed. So I reconfigured the garage shape The flanking parking spaces aren't required to be the same 20-foot interior dimension as the 2 required spaces.
Okay. That was the only question I have. I have no questions about the presentation. It's consistent with what I think we saw last time, with the exception of the change in the garage. And I think it's well detailed.
All right, thank you. Board Member Arkelian, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
Yes, just one. What are the stormwater management strategies?
So one is that that capture and reuse tank south of the pool area. And the other area where we're capturing stormwater is at existing dry well, which is sort of near the new pond and stream there. The drainage patterns, according to the civil, are following historic patterns. So.
Great. Yep, great. That's my only question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Thank you. Board Member Ziegler, are you there?
But you're muted.
Okay. I have a question. Could you show us a picture of the front of the garage again, please?
That would be sheet 10, I believe.
Is that it? Okay.
Here you go.
Okay. I personally would prefer some asymmetry in the design. This is very symmetric. And I'm just wondering if you could move the roof patterns a little bit to make it a little more asymmetric, or make it more interesting, because the house is asymmetric and I thought the garage doesn't fit with it. That would be my question.
Should I answer that question, or is that a comment?
Yes, please, Mr. Howes. That's an interesting question. What is your response to that?
Well, as I say, this was modeled after a garage at the Blacker House, which I found very attractive. And I wanted it to relate as best as I could to the double garage door in the center and the single on each end. So if I go shifting roof elements, then they are more out of alignment with those doors. And not that it's a concern of yours, but my client happens to like a lot of symmetry. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. Very good. Interesting question, and appreciate your response. All right, I'll bring it back to the board for comments. Vice Chair Colas, do you have any comments, please?
No, I have no comments. I think it's a great project. I think it's designed well. It's thoughtfully done, and I'm in support of the project as I was last time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Arkelian, do you have any questions or comments, please?
I appreciate the applicant's thoughtfulness in the design and addressing the motion with the FAR study, as well as responding to the public comment. I believe overall it's the plans are most consistent with what was presented previously, and I'm in support of final approval, PDA and final. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I think also I agree that there's a lot of high quality detail and materials that fits well within the neighborhood, and this mass, size, and bulk and scale as well fits.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I've just got I'll just make a comment, a statement together. The garage, what we're looking at right now is to the right is the facing of the garage, the double doors and the 2 single doors on each side. What is the elevation to the left of that? I'm sorry, or to the right of that? I'm sorry, I can't read it and it's not large enough to, is that a door on the side of the garage?
Correct. There's a door on each end of the garage. So in that lower right corner.
Actually, oh, that's it's the wrong elevation. You want to go down to the garage, the bottom elevation.
Yeah.
There you go.
So each end has that same elevation
Yes.
that we're not looking at right now.
The
If we
next
could-
elevation,
Yeah, scan to the right.
that's the front.
There you go. So they're pretty much mirror images of each other.
No, I'm sorry. I couldn't see it. It looked like a garage door there. It's just a single door with siding. No, that's
Exactly.
fine.
Mhm.
No, I don't have any other comments. I think the project is great. It's a new house, and yeah, details are great, and it stays well within our guidelines. And as far as FAR, I think your lot is huge, and there's no reason to limit the size of houses in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motisha. Board Member Ziegler, do you have any comments, please?
No, my comments are in line with the rest of the board. I really approve of the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think this is a beautiful project. You know, especially the trellis element, it kind of, this type of style of architecture with this California early craftsman kind of ties in with Art Nouveau. And I don't know if you've talked to your clients if when they're decorating their home to use that kind of a style in because it'd be very appropriate with the Art Nouveau. And as far as the garage goes, just thinking, usually those garages back at that time were converted horse carriages. So actually, the plate height usually is much higher than the one you have here. So if there's any way of making a comment of a more traditional look for that period, it would be a much taller plate height. But I think what you've got here is great. So yeah, I totally support this project as well.
Yeah.
So,
In answer to your comment about Art Nouveau, my clients have a Tiffany style lamp, which is serving as kind of the basis for other interior lamps that they're going to have created, chandeliers,
Wonderful.
etc. So should be nice.
yeah, that would be very nice. That sounds great. Anyway, so would someone like to entertain a motion, please, for final design approval?
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you.
I move that we give this project project design approval and final approval. With
Yeah, I know. Ms. Burkhart, what else is there to say?
other than the findings.
Yes, the project requires neighborhood preservation findings, so you'll have to run through those
Sure.
and qualify each one. Thank you.
Has consistency in appearance with the neighborhood, with city appearance of the neighborhood, compatibility with size, bulk, and scale, quality of architecture and materials by, yes. Trees, I think, didn't really hit that much of landscaping. I will say that it is in keeping with our guidelines. Katie might say something. This is not part of the motion, but Katie might comment, add something to this. Okay, number 5. It's in keeping with health, safety, and welfare, public safety, health and welfare. Good neighbor guidelines have been followed. Does not block any public views. It's kept at the same height of the existing house. Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a second, please?
I'll just add that no significant trees are being removed, just to add to the finding.
Okay, I agree with that. I'll go along with that.
All right, thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Barbara, Ms. Burkhart, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to ask for a second, but we got one.
Okay, great. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kloss,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler, Board Member Ziegler.
Where'd you go?
Who's hiding?
Okay, yes.
Thank you. And Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, great. And there's a 10-day appeal period for this project. Thank you, Mr. Howes. Good luck on your project. All right, moving on to item 3. This is a new item for project design approval. Proposal for a demolition of an existing 90 square foot balcony and associated roofing and construction of a new 228 square foot balcony, new roof to cover, and new exterior stairway. The project also includes the demolition of the existing rear patio and steps, and the construction of a new spa alcove with steps, relocation of the AC condenser, new landscaping, new driveway gate, and interior alterations. A total of 3,088 square feet of development on an 8,955 square foot lot is 90% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio. No new floor area is proposed as part of this project. Project design approval is requested. Neighborhood preservation findings are required. Do we have a representative for this project, please?
Yes, hi, I'm here.
Hi, Jacob.
Jacob Nixdow.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. All right. Would you like me to walk through the project, or
please? You have
Barbara
a 15-minute. You have a 15-minute limit.
Okay. Great. Well, if we can start on the cover sheet. There we go. The bulk of this project, as mentioned, is kind of the replacement of an existing exterior balcony. This is a kind of a cute Samarkand cottage, like many in that area. That's the street level, or the street side, is on the upper floor, and the lot slopes off to the rear. And so the rear is actually kind of a 2-story facing the backyard. And in general, the living area is on the main upper floor, and the owners would like to kind of improve their indoor-outdoor connection and have a little bit better use of their backyard. So they do already have somewhat of a kind of a seating area in the middle of their backyard, kind of I guess the open yard area to the lower right of the site plan there. And so it's just working on connecting the house to that area, which right now, if eventually we get to the photos, is just kind of a concrete pad that's not very inspiring. And so we are, as part of that, there is an air conditioning unit that is located kind of in the driveway garage area. We're going to be relocating that and just adding an exterior stair to get down from the balcony to this lower yard as it kind of steps down the hillside. So in the upper left corner of this sheet, there's a little enlarged partial site plan. That's really where the bulk of the work is happening. The darker gray rectangle is the new balcony. The dashed line there is kind of it's more of a linear rectangle, is where the old balcony was, and you can see the stairs heading down. And then as you head down the stairs, there's a new space for a spa alcove and some more stairs to connect, again, the usable area back up to the house. So the other kind of elements that we're considering are a new driveway gate. There is currently a shorter driveway gate up where the driveway hits the sidewalk. We'll be removing that one and putting, forgive me, I'm not sure, am I able to annotate this at all, or do I just have to guide with my voice?
Just with your voice, unfortunately.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
So we'll be moving the new driveway gate to the northwest corner of the house. Again, as the driveway kind of slopes down, it will be even less visible from the street.
Jacob, sorry to interrupt you, if you have specific sheets you'd like us to go to, that would help.
Well, why don't we head to the next sheet? Most of the work is happening here on the site plan, but next sheet is fine. So here's the floor plans. We have the existing plans on the left and the proposed plans on the right. Again, you can kind of see the little narrower covered balcony that's being replaced with a little bit more usable space and a stairway down. Also, as part of this project, there is some interior reconfigurations happening on the lower level to add a bathroom and a closet there. But that will, other than potentially adding a window and maybe a skylight to get a little bit more light down into this, what used to be kind of dark hallway, will have no effect on the exterior of the house. So we can continue forward to the next page. Again, the roof plans showing existing on the left, proposed on the right. Same hip and valley style, keeping with the Samarkand cottage. We can go to the next sheet. Again, on the left, the existing elevations, on the right, the proposed. Kind of in the right on the middle there, we can see I believe it's a wrought iron railing that's there now. We're proposing to do more of a wood columns with wood railing at the balcony as well. No change to the doors and windows, just simply adding on the balcony massing on the outside. And you can kind of see how it looks from the sides on the upper and the lower. We can continue on to the next sheet. On the upper left, we have kind of an image. You can see the driveway actually is sloping down. It's making its way down to the lower backyard level. So the new gate will almost be below the finished floor level, almost below the level of the street. But kind of a wood gate, again, in the cottage feel of this neighborhood. And then on the right here on this sheet, we have an existing section cut through the backyard, and you can kind of see there is a very abrupt CMU wall that's about 3 or 4 feet that just kind of makes it difficult to get from that middle level down into the lower level where actually most of their backyard is. So we're proposing to essentially gradually transition rather than abruptly transition between the two levels. We can continue to the next sheet. And I believe Jessica Harlan, our landscape designer, will be able to discuss kind of our screening and privacy elements that we've discussed with the new landscape. Jessica, are you here?
Yes, I am.
There.
Yeah, so much like Jake said, we're working on kind of activating and connecting the existing yard to this new proposed covered deck that now has access down to the yard. So we have where it spills out from the stairway coming off the deck, it's entering into just a planted flagstone paving area with large planted joints. So we're maintaining really good kind of water infiltration, and then coming down on 2 stairways that come on either side of a new proposed spot, and then it finishes out in an existing decomposed granite area that they currently have on the site, but we're kind of fleshing it out and planting it so that it feels much more inclusive. As far as screening goes in this section, you can see that we're really trying to do this multiple layered approach for creating and kind of capitalizing on screening to the neighbors with the expanded covered patio. So we have hedge line that is coming down, and we're proposing Prunus caroliniana, Brighton-type. So it's nothing that's going to be too huge, but we're then combining that with using standard bay trees. So ideally, the canopy starts more or less above the level of the hedge and creates this upper story of screening while still maintaining the ability to have understory plantings that give us a nice garden feel. Our plant palette's super simple, using just a mixed textures of kind of grays and greens. So we're using pittosporum golf ball, dwarf olive, Stakey's or lamb's ear, combined with Lomandra to give a little bit of a nice grassy texture. with an agave popped in for a little bit of a sculptural accent. Overall, just the idea is low water use, low maintenance, while really creating a nice screening effect to the neighbors on the other side, which in the elevation, you can see there's an existing palm tree that kind of shows, like in a little bit, the depth of where the property is, and just trying to be good neighbors and also create a nice environment in the backyard. Yeah. We are along the driveway. We do have a couple vine pockets to try to get some softness and less of a really hard feeling in and around the driveway to give it a nice, softer, more pedestrian feeling, even though it is the driveway, because the yard kind of bleeds into that garage and the area between the garage and the main residence. But overall, that's it. It's pretty simple, and it's just trying to activate a yard that's currently usable, but not super usable, and very much bisected.
I don't know if we have a quick minute to just skim through the photos. Kind of the street shots here. This is the backyard area. Again, kind of looking towards the palm tree at the top. Looking along the driveway to the south. You can see the two-story on the rear. I think the next page might, yeah, there we go. On the upper right is kind of, you can see that CMU wall that bisects. It's otherwise just a concrete, aircraft carrier up there that we're trying to make a little more inviting. And there's just a couple railroad ties steps to the right there to try and sneak your way around. So trying to remedy that right there. And last page, even then on the upper left, the neighbor to the north has a very similar kind of front porch, wood columns, that type of feel for this Samarkand cottage. So Steve and Samira have reached out to the neighbors on the three sides directly to them, in addition to the requirements of the planner, and heard feedback. Given that people are working from home these days, they just want to say they do. Steve and Samira are living there and wanting to be respectful of the neighbors, so they do understand that. That is a concern of some of the neighbors, people working from home when they didn't used to work from home. So we've made an effort to be respectful of that, and Steve and Samira, the owners going forward, have indicated that they will definitely be respectful of that during the construction process. So.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Burkhart, did we get any public comment?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. While we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Ms. Burkhart. We did not receive any public comment for this item, and I do not see any hands raised in the attendees list, so I'll hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Bringing it back to the board for questions. Vice Chair Kalas, do you have any questions, please?
The only question I have, and it's probably a better question for Ms. Klein to ask, but the trees that are being proposed on the southerly property line or adjacent to the southerly property line, approximately how tall will those get over time?
Their bay trees will max out at 20 foot approximately, but they're pretty diminutive tree, and can be maintained much like a hedge. So you decide a height and you can keep it at a desired height, but it's nothing that's meant to be 40, 50 foot tall.
Okay, and have the landscape plans or any of the plans been shared with the neighbors?
Oh, go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we provided, Steve and Samira, the owners, took a copy of the plans on 11 by 17 versions to the directly southern neighbor, the directly northern neighbor, and the rear neighbor kind of around the other street. So they were reaching out to discuss that with them, yes. And from what they've told me, their conversations were brief and cordial, so.
Okay. And then the only other question I have is related to the support columns for the deck. Is there any detail of that at this time, or do you have a general sense of what the size of those are? It looks like the existing ones are almost like a 3 or 4 inch pipe column or something of that nature.
Yeah, the existing columns actually believe are a 4x4 wood post, if I'm remembering that correctly, but you're right, they are quite spindly. We would be looking at either like a 8x8, kind of a little bit more substantial, that's more proportional to the size of the roof and the framing members that would be holding up the balcony. So it would be about double the size of those columns. And because the span, the width of the balcony is a little bit longer than you might otherwise expect for a typical kind of column of that size, we're proposing to double them up in the corners to get kind of a pair of columns, but without interrupting, without needing to have a kind of a too tight spacing, if you will. So.
Right, so you'd kind of have a pair over here, larger space, pair over here.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, those are my only questions. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Board Member Arkalian, do you have any questions, please?
I do. I would like to ask the applicant to confirm the proposed material for the driveway. Thank you.
The driveway is an existing asphalt driveway that will remain. In terms of our discussions with the transportation department and the Creeks division, it was decided that we would leave the area that the cars will be driving over on, the driveway itself, as the existing surface, and the new landscaping will be kind of the patio or pedestrian intended areas south of that.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
Just one. Do you have an idea of the flagstone color selection? Some of the pictures looked more blue.
Sorry. Right now, they haven't decided on a final choice. We're still working on that, but they responded really well to like a blue stone as far as imagery goes.
Great. Only question. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, you have a question? Where'd he go? He's lost in the ethers.
I will try to ask him to unmute and to start his video.
Well, I can get back to him as soon as we find him. Board Member Ziegler, do you have any questions, please?
Am I on mute?
No, I can hear you clearly. I don't. Oh, there you
I have
are.
no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Did Board Member Motisha show up?
Yes, he's here.
Okay.
Unmuted.
Joe,
Board Member Motisha, can you hear us? Can I ask you to unmute yourself? It looks like you're unmuted, Mr. Motisha, but we can't hear you. Maybe in, you might have the wrong output selected. If you click on the little arrow next to your microphone, it'll give you some audio settings to choose from.
Well, we can go back to him. We could include his question and comments, I think. So
Okay, sounds good.
let's, I do not have any questions at this time, so I'll move on to comments. Vice Chair Colas, do you have any comments, please?
No, I think it's a simple project, and I think the improvements that they're proposing for the rear yard will be great. And I appreciate the fact that the applicants and the owners have taken the time to inform their neighbors of what they're planning on doing, and that they've been thoughtful about their plant selections. Those are my only comments.
All right, thank you. Board Member Arakelian, do you have any comments, please?
I do. I believe the proposed building and landscape design is aesthetically appropriate and respectful towards neighborhood compatibility. I appreciate the applicant's selection of drought-tolerant plantings. I'm in support of the bluestone and the proposed screening. I believe the proposed columns are aesthetically appropriate and an improvement to the existing columns. I would like to hear the board's comments on keeping the existing driveway or if other options should be considered. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, it's a good segue. What are your have comments about? Especially
Yes. I think the driveway gate helps with the street elevation and is a big improvement. I think the terracing, the hedge planting, and the trees help with the neighbor privacy as well as the elevation and the topography of the site. Well, materials are all high quality, and I think the plant selections are all low water and aesthetically will look great year round. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, can we hear you? Are you there? I see you. Okay, darn it. Oh, Joe, yeah, can you talk?
Mr. Motisha, I think you might have one of your audio settings on the wrong selection. If you can hit that arrow next to your microphone icon on the bottom left of the screen, it should give you some options. You might want to switch it to something different and see if that helps you out.
It's all these options that get me every time. Well, and let's move on. Board Member Ziegler, do you have any comments, please?
No real comments. It looks like it's a simple project and it makes a lot of sense. So that's all I'd say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I kind of echo what the board is saying. It looks appropriate and respects the existing conditions. So I think it's a very nice addition. I don't know if we want to move for a motion until we hear from Mr. Motisha. Ms. Burkhart, do you have any advice?
Well, other than having him change his audio output, I can't think of anything. Mr. Motisha, maybe you want to try leaving the meeting and coming back in. Might reset your settings. That's all I can think of at this point.
Okay.
Let's see if that's what he's doing.
Let's wait a minute.
Yeah, give him a second.
Am I there?
Hey!
Yes.
Hey!
Thank you, Mr. Motisha. Great, so you can go ahead with your questions and comments if you have them for this project.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I guess I'm no picture. I'm sorry, but I don't push any buttons. I just sit here, I turn it off when the presentation is making, and then all of a sudden the presentation over and I go down to my left corner and I push audio and I push like that. I didn't do my screen went haywire now. Can you hear me again?
Yes,
Yes.
I can hear you.
Well, I keep getting things on my screen that I don't push buttons.
It's the aliens.
Okay, alien. I could throw this if I had a lake out there, I'd throw this computer out there.
I know that feeling.
Where's the spa? I would like to know where the spa is. I just start my video. Why am I later? Start my video. I am. Can you still hear me?
Yep, there you are, and I can see you.
Oh, I don't see myself, so okay. Good that you can see me. Where is the spa? I know I'm looking at it, but I'm blind. I don't see where. Is the spa down in the backyard or is it near the stairway that goes up to the deck?
So the spa is located between the two stairs. It's not actually a built-in spa. It's kind of an alcove for an above ground spa to be set. But between the two sets of 6 stairs from, it's hard without annotating.
Is there a where you can enlarge it? I can see where the spa is.
Yeah, if you could enlarge it on the main site plan, just north of the palm tree.
Bring your hand. No, your hand's going down the. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that one up there. There it is.
Okay, there. So if you kind of keep going north, moving up and to the right.
Is there a cursor moving?
Right.
I don't see a cursor
Yeah,
moving.
I think there. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Pull that one up. Now, where's the spa?
Okay.
I'm I can't.
Spa on that. Is it drawn there?
Yeah, it's that square. That's that kind of rectangle and above those 2 trees.
Yes. Forgive me. The
Oh.
label spa did not show up on this enlarged site plan, but it is right in the middle of the
2 stairs.
The stairs.
Right
The
in
two
the
sets of stairs.
See the 2 stairs, Joe?
I see a stair going up to the deck.
Okay, now there's a stairway in front of that.
A stairway in front of it.
Yeah.
If you just
To the east of it.
Correct.
Yes.
if you go to the landscape plan, it's blue, which
there
might
we
help visually.
Yeah, that would probably be better.
That would be page 6.
There you go.
Okay, it's between the stairway and the deck. Is that true? No, there's the spa right in the middle of the whole thing.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep.
Ah, okay. Because I didn't know where the spa was. Down. So it's on the ground. It's
Yes, it's essentially ground level to the west, and then as the stairs go down around it, it's above ground at the decomposed granite.
each side. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything is so small that I'm sorry, I can't read it. I've got my reading glasses on. I still can't read it. And it does say SBA. It does say spa. Okay. Now I haven't seen this. This would be nice. I hadn't seen this. You didn't show it. You were hiding this landscape plan. Katie, you might be interested in looking at this. Okay. Don't understand it. All right. No, that's my only question, and my only comment is, I think it's a great project. I used to deliver papers when I was 9 years old to this house, and I never knew it went down in the back. This is great. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Board Member Ziegler, you already spoke, isn't that right?
Yeah, I did speak. Yep.
Okay. I'm just still looking at this. I know it's probably because of the way it's drawn as a landscape plan. The spa, how does it pour into the decomposed granite? It looks like there's something missing there.
It's actually a built-in spa. It's just a blue block. They haven't chosen the exact spa model, but I just put a
Okay.
blue fill in so that it was easier to read where it was.
Got it. Thank you. All right. They're here for project design approval. If that's something you'd like to give, would someone like to entertain a motion?
I'll give a motion. For project design approval, continued indefinitely to go to consent for final with the following findings. That the project is consistent in appearance with the neighborhood and is compatible in size, bulk, and scale. Quality architectural materials are being used. And no significant trees are being removed, only added. To help with privacy, the public health, safety, and welfare are protected and preserved. The good neighbor guidelines are also followed with increased hedging and landscaping and terracing, and no public views are being impacted.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Motisha had second. Okay, great. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Vice Chair Kalas,
Yes.
Board Member Arakelian,
Yes.
Board Member Klein,
Yes.
Board Member Motisha,
Yes.
Board Member Ziegler,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations, Mr.
you, guys.
Nixville. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Great.
Okay.
Chair Miller, we do need
Yes.
to, we really can't start item 4 until 5 o'clock. So I suggest we take a 5-minute recess.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Let's take a
Okay.
5-minute recess.
Thank
Be
you.
back at 5 o'clock. Single Family Design Board. We're on to item number 4. This is 1241 East Coda. This is a continued item requesting project design approval. The proposal for construction of a new 2,392 construct a new 2,392 square foot single story, single unit residence and an attached 427 square foot garage on a vacant 9,042 square foot lot. The proposed total of 2,819 square feet of development is 82% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio. Project design approval is requested. Neighborhood preservation findings are required. The project was last reviewed on April 26, 2021. Vice Chair Colas, do we have any minutes to read into the record?
Chair Miller, I need to recuse myself from this item and the next item due to a conflict with a property that I own in adjacency to both of these lots.
Okay.
So I'm going to recuse myself and exit the meeting at this time since these are the last 2 items for the evening.
All right, thank you, and happy holidays.
I wish everybody happy holidays and a happy and healthy new year. Thank you
very much.
Bye-bye. And to Mr. Ziegler, if he's out there anywhere in the airwaves, it's been nice working with you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vice Chair Colas. And Chair Miller, I think we should, for the record, note that Board Member Ziegler has left the meeting as well.
Okay.
We do have a quorum at this time. We have 4 board members. One is a licensed architect and one is a licensed landscape architect. So we can move ahead with item 4.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, would you be kind enough to read into the record for the minutes from the previous meeting, please?
Sure, no problem. The motion was to continue to the staff hearing officer for return to the full board with the following comments. The applicant shall provide further information on general drainage approach and confirmation on the tier of the stormwater management plan. 2, the applicant shall provide an aerial photograph to determine the neighborhood context. 3, the applicant shall confirm the color palette in the renderings. 4, the board is supportive of the design approach and will consider making project design approval at its next visit.
Okay, action was taken by Sweeney and seconded by Motisha. Colas was recused herself. Hello, Mr. Shelton, if you'd like to present your project, and that'd be great.
Thank you, everybody. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thanks. So we'll start on sheet page 1 there. And can't see it.
Ms. Rydell, we're looking, thank you. Perfect.
Okay, a couple things here. We're going to be looking at 2 projects here. And but we'll talk one at a time, but really we kind of look at the whole project. So we may talk a little bit more about the whole project on this one, and then we'll move on to the next one. But here we are on these 2 isolated lots between Coda Street, Diana Road. And Diana Road goes down kind of in a bowl between Coda and De La Guerra. This is a previously developed lot split. And you can see the driveways that were put in per that development, and the fire department's reviewed this plan, reviewed the access to this area and approved it. Let's go. So we have we're going to address all the issues you guys just mentioned and a few more. I'm going to be going over the landscape plan that Kim True did, and talking about that as it addressed many of the issues also. So let's move on to this next slide. A couple down, get through these general notes and get to the site survey. So this is the last time we'll see the survey this clean. So you can just see the site as it slopes down towards I guess we call this the southwest-ish corner on the left. And this is an issue the neighbors had concerns about, etc. But you can see on this plan the existing dry wells that were put in during the development, and we're going to be using those dry wells. There are these circles. There's 3 of them, And this whole thing was done by Flowers and Associates years ago, and Ashley Vance is now our civil engineer, and they are doing our Tier 3 drainage plans and Tier 3 stormwater management program. Let's go on to the next aerial. This is, you requested this. We didn't have this last time, but it starts to show you the relationships here. And here 1241 is the lot we're talking about, but you can see 1239 above it. You see these three houses on the left. We'll be talking about these neighbors. We visited the neighbor on the at 1220. We went to their backyard and looked up, and we'll go over, we have photos from there. 1224, we didn't go see her area, but she has written a letter regarding some dirt and kind of fencing problems over here. And then the next one up, 1228, we went to their backyard, took photos, which you'll see, and understand their problems. And we've reacted to both of their issues, and they seem to be happy with what we were planning to do. We also went into the house of the one on the upper side, which is called East in Santa Barbara, more north really, but it's been in their house looking out their windows. We do the best we can by lowering our plate heights over there and keeping them one-story buildings. So that was actually requested also by you guys, and we did that and had a neighborhood meeting also at the site to go over all the issues. Let's go to the next photo. Now this is the supplemental from that meeting. On the top of the page are from that northern or northeastern house, looking out their number of different rooms. They've already started their own hedges here, as you can see, and they're doing a pretty good job with it, with olives and different guavas, etc. The house down on the left is, you see the big oak tree up there. That's their view of where our house is going to be. They're concerned about the top of that wall they put in. They don't want people falling off of it, so we're adding a little fence there and hedges. And we're also moving our roof decks back to be 37 feet from the property line, per their request. And down below is from the bottom house. That's looking up, and our house will be there, but we've dropped the whole floor 5 feet and also moved the roof decks back another 15 feet or so. We'll look at exact measurements when we see the plans. Next slide, please. So here's this house is at the end of our little road. We have these oak trees we're protecting, one in that little funny cutout at the driveway. And this is all permeable paving that's going back in. And like I said, Kim True Designs did this. And we're also, there's other oak trees we're protecting, one down below. We are removing trees. We'll get to that on the landscape plan. But this shows some significant things we did. In the left-hand side, upper left-hand side, we moved the dining room back. We moved it back 6 feet farther back. It is now 29 feet from the property line. It was 23. We just moved that whole sitting area, the whole patio back 7 feet farther back. And we put these patios back here because it's got a view up to the Riviera, kind of northwest to the Riviera. Like I said,
could we blow this up? Can you blow this up?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about 1241.
Yeah.
Well, can you just, yeah, right there, blow that up.
Okay. Here's this deck. I was talking about the upper left deck. We pushed that whole area way back and gave it a little more air and space there. And then, as I was saying, the bedrooms on the bottom left those two bedrooms are dropped down 7 steps, it looks like, can't remember, 5 feet, I believe. And this just takes down the mass of the building as it relates to the house to the left. You know, we're trying to keep a number of these rooms, at least a room level with the kitchen and family room, just for people aging and can't go downstairs. So there's some little games we've been playing there, trying to make it a practical house. Let's go to the next plan. And back to, if this is our drainage concept with Ashley Vance. We're reusing the dry wells as intended. You can see the drainage on those blue lines. That's how it was developed and that's how it was planned. And we retested those to make sure they're working for the 2020 guidelines. You also asked us to review that. This is tier 3. A lot of the paving's permeable, and you'll see that on the landscape plan. And the overflow drainage is in the far left corner, and it goes down this next to the neighbors, between both neighbors' house, down to Diana Road, and there you see it's collected and goes down the street into a drain. So that's the overflow drain, but as you know, we try to keep as much water as possible on the site. Let's go to the next sheet. This is just showing the trees that we're keeping and getting rid of. We're getting rid of, there were 3, I believe, pepper trees planted early on. We're getting rid of those. We'll be replacing those with oak trees and some other shrubs along the fence, and we'll show you that. The main thing is we're keeping that oak tree up in the upper right-hand corner, and there's a palm also, but that oak tree is really what was we needed to save. Next plan, please. I'm going straight to this. We'll go on to the architecture. It all has to do, you know, it's all combined. So the palette is Kim's using oak trees on the bottom left to match the other existing oak trees. We're using Palo Verdes. We're using some olives and some, she said some acacias and fruitless olives between the houses. And this is all to do the same thing. Both owners seem to want a little bit of privacy, and that's what we're providing. You can see the pavers, the permeable pavers that Kim has picked out. And then the rest of the palette are drought tolerant succulents and other drought tolerant plants, quite colorful. Next sheet, please. Once again, the floor plan, if you want to go over it, but I thought it was more important on that site plan, but 3-bedroom house, garage is on the same level as the main room and the main bedroom. Next, please. Roof deck, it was on the left-hand side, right near where you see the stairs. Now we've moved it over to, it's a bit smaller and it's more in the center of the house. And this was in reaction to the neighbors on the left. Next plan, please. We'll get to color ones in a second, but this, the elevation, the south elevation shows the entry, which would be a tiled entry, which we'll get into detail. One of the changes was we needed to go to a single garage door. We had doubles, which I use 99% of the time, but we had backup issues, and then transportation had us do this to get out of that. I think it's fine in this location. It's not on the street. Very simple elevations. We played with the parapet heights, even though the ceiling heights parapets weren't affected by the ceiling. We moved the parapets around to give interest to the skyline. The east elevation is from this is looking back up at the house, the other house we're proposing. Next, please. The upper, the one in the west, this is looking, is this the west? Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's Santa Barbara West, sorry. Yeah, you want to go back to that one or? Yeah. This is looking towards, let's say, the mesa, and the roof deck's right there in the center, above that center window. And then the north elevation is facing the neighbor to the south, right on that side of it. Let's go to the color elevations. We're looking at the house with the brown and the blue now. That's for 1241. Same elevations, but it sort of gives you a relationship with not only the house, the other house we're proposing, but you can see the existing house sketched in there. This is a dado at about 4 feet. It's at a window line there. We run around, it's plaster, it's a raised dado. It comes out a ½ inch or an inch, I can't remember. And we have a tile, California pottery, kind of a brick fired tile on the roof. Very simple details, and we've expressed really only the entryway with tiles, and we'll show you those in a second. Next elevation, please. And once again, same thing. It starts to show you the houses down on Diana Road and our relationship to them. You can see the height limit that we've stayed under, well under it. I think you've been respectful for that in the neighborhood and the existing neighborhood houses. Next elevation, the next plan, please. Details, 1 foot thick walls. We're showing wood framing. We would like to use some sort of block, insulated block, but we just don't know yet. Let's get through this approval. We have aluminum clad windows, wood on the inside. We have ceramic tile eyebrows. Next, please. Details, just little fun plaster details, soft plaster, not crazy plaster, but just real soft and hand done, and cement plaster. There's the parapet detail. We have a few pots, standing pots. Next detail, please. Ironwork, once again, not too crazy, just a little bit off, a little bit hand done. Pretty calm on the outside, in my opinion. Next. Lamps, we'll have small perforations with amber mica, and then the light going straight down, just so we get a glow on the ground. Light the ground, and it's a kind of an orangey yellow glow from the drops. Next. And color palette for this building is this blues and whites and a brown. And that brown you can see in the bottom left next to the lamp there. Just a brown. There, I'm done. I'm done with the brown. And there's tile work too. I'll save you time on the next building. There's tile here, and that tile around the surround cement tile. We're showing the blue and white, blue, white, and black. I think that does it pretty good for us.
Thank you. Barbara, did we need public input?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon at the bottom of the screen. And while we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Ms. Burkhart. We received one public comment letter from Pandora Snedkamp, and there are a few hands raised in the audience. And I will first call on Leslie Kloss. Let me send you an unmute request, and you can unmute yourself, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Leslie Kloss. I'm the owner at 1215 East Coda Street. Just for the record, I'm calling in as an owner and not part of the board. I guess my only request is that on the, I guess it would be the westerly or the southerly building, and I think it is the blue and brown one that we've been looking at. the one that's closest to my parcel. I'd like to be assured that there would be no visibility from the roof decks into my backyard. I have lost significant privacy as a result of the development that has occurred directly behind me, which was the lot split on Diana Lane. And I've now got a 5-foot by 5-foot window that looks directly into the backyard there. And I would like to be assured that my privacy is protected as a result of this project. That's the only comment I have. Otherwise, I think it's a nice project. And I support the neighbors' desires to develop the project.
Thank you. And next we have P. Snedkamp. I will send you an unmute request, and when you are ready, you can unmute yourself and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm the owner of 1224 Diana Road, directly north of the project being discussed. Since 2019, I've been trying to have the owner do something about all the dirt that's piling up against my fence on the back of the property. It's over a 50% slope between my property and where the proposed building pad is. I've gotten no action on it. Mr. Shelton's also been aware of this since the middle of 2021. So I have, out of frustration with no action being taken, I have up to 28 inches of dirt along the chain link fence. I have written the detailed note that you have before you. I've also filed a request for investigation with the Community Development Department this morning to ask them to look at that and the other violations that we have with City of Santa Barbara Resolution 18-05. The information I wrote is fairly straightforward. Of particular concern, I also have of the privacy hedge, which applicant planted on my neighbor's side of the property, but not mine. And all the cost is now my responsibility. And extremely expensive over the course of a decade. I did write a list of potential conditions that I have sought on page 4 of the letter I sent. There's over half a dozen conditions I'd like to see, and I'd like you to continue this and do not grant final design approval today. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another speaker, Rick. I will send you an unmute request, and when you are ready, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, I did send in an email earlier today, and I'm wondering if your staff had received that. Anybody?
Ms. Burkhart, what is your name, sir, again?
Rick Grancolis. It was, I put my name on it. Also, our email address is rlgrancolis@cox.net.
Mr. Grancolis, your comment was received. However, it was received after the deadline for this meeting, so it will be distributed to the board members after the meeting.
Ah, interesting. Okay. All right, then I guess I can start. All right, so first item is the setback. I had asked in the email about the 20-foot setback, which was originally come up with in 2004 when this thing went before the board back then. And I noticed in one of Mr. Shelton's drawings there that the property behind us, the new proposed dwelling behind us, is 16 feet off our property line. So I'm curious as to what exactly is the setback? Is it 20 feet or is it 16 or what is it exactly? Also, a big concern we have, two big concerns, of course, the runoff, because we had a problem with, and I described that in the email. That was back in 2004. Also, I'm very concerned about privacy issues here because of the rooftop deck. And now you're removing the pepper trees, and I don't know what you're going to have there. It wasn't made clear. But I would hope that something can be done about this deck. He did say he moved it back 15 feet. That sounds better, but I don't think it should be there at all. It's like a lookout tower. It's 25 feet above our backyard and looks right down into our bedrooms. So, I just don't think this works. So if you can please answer those questions for me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Shelton, would you be able to answer that neighbor's concerns?
Yes. First of all, yes, I did meet Rick, and we are addressing concerns. You want me to just him, not all the comments?
Well, yeah, let's wait. I'm sorry, I probably went out of turn. Is there? Go ahead, Ms. Gillian, Tennessee. Sorry.
Thank you. At this time, we do not have any more hands raised, so I'll turn it back to the board.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shelton. You have the floor.
Okay. Yes, I understand the privacy issue. We didn't build 2 floors, which we could have with our height limits, and we're providing only just over 100 square foot deck. I'll check the number, but in the center of the building, and I know we need to address that with the other question from the neighbor.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I see the roof plan or the elevations while he's speaking? Because
yeah.
So it's like in context with what's going on.
Maybe sheet 12, maybe. Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, we are on a hill, and above Coda Street dips right down there to Diana Road, and so it is an issue. We are higher. We were keeping this house 1 story, and a 2-story house could look into the neighbors also. So here at least it's an isolated area on the house, and it's in the middle of the lot, is as middle as we could get. So that I see as the best spot for this deck. Otherwise, these people are also isolated completely and with only one little view up to the Riviera. So, I think it's fair. I know what he's talking about. It's someone's building in the vacant lot next to them. So, we did show the plans. I think some people got to the plans late, but we are proposing and have showed what we are doing for screening all up that side and all around the building. But this was the side that most people were concerned about. As far as the setback, we're within the setbacks that we were told on the conditions. So I don't know what to say.
That's okay. All right. Appreciate it. Moving on, let's go back to the board for questions. Board member Arkelian, do you have any questions, please?
I apologize if the applicant brought this up already in the presentation. I just wanted to confirm what kind of, in terms of the landscape architecture, the landscape design, what kind of screening is proposed?
We have, if you look at the landscape plan, if you want to go look at that, number 10. We have some hedges along. Okay, we have 2 issues here. First of all, there is a hedge already in front of the house of the gentleman we just talked. talked
Hold on,
about.
Mr. Shelton, can you hold on? Can we get an enlargement of just the landscape alone? I think that would help too. Thank you. There we go.
So the gentleman who just talked, we're planting, we have these oak trees that we're planting, but there's also a hedge, or a Eugenia hedge that is already going there. It could be cut and trimmed, you know, and thickened, etc. So there's already something there. He can certainly talk about if he doesn't like that or wants to change it out. The next one, the next house up, or the woman who's complaining about the dirt, you know, the thing is, we are addressing it. She's saying no one's addressing it. Well, it's been here idle. We are now a civil engineer, landscape architect, addressing that, and all that will be fixed at this point. Now, these people did build retaining walls up on a hill, and so it's kind of a funny situation. Our hill is there, and then a retaining wall, and then our dirt comes down. So we are channeling, making sure all the water is channeled down this side, which is a easement in the it's a drainage easement that was part of the land's lot split and development. So we're doing it per Flowers and Associates and per Ashley Vance. They're telling us what to do, and Kim is making it look good. So we're showing here, we're showing vegetation of, it was kind of a mixed situation. We're showing, we have, the woman has a hedge there already. So we're planting an extra hedge down there, and we have all these trees. And so at some point, there's not going to be a lot of sunlight. We will plant another hedge there, and let's see what she has. She has an existing Eugenia hedge to remain. Oh, that's the other woman's. She has native. I'd have to see what's on this. She's just calling it flowering shrubs right here. So I think we were kind of mixed up how to deal with the situation here. There's already a hedge. We're fixing all the drainage. We'll add whatever kind of hedge back anybody wants, or a fence.
Thank you. I would like to confirm for the record for staff that I have reviewed the prior recording for this project and the prior plan set. But for now, those are that was my question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any questions, please?
Is that, you'll have to do a turn just to get in the garage door. You know, and I realize why you're saving. I mean, that's a big oak tree. I guess that's a big oak tree right there in the driveway on the east. I guess it would be the east side of the property. Weird trying to get into a garage door that way. You have to go, you know, make an S turn, and you're going to have to back up to get into the garage door.
No, we worked it out with transportation and the templates. Maybe a big car is going to have a hard time, but we got it to work with transportation. But what we were doing was, see, we have gravel. We have gravel under the tree there too, so it's actually a you have a little more room there than you think.
Right. Okay. And that's basically all one level, except those two bedrooms and I think 2 bathrooms down in the lower left corner. Those
That's
are
right.
down about what, 6 feet, 5 or
Yeah,
6.
we're just dropping with the site. Yeah,
Right.
dropping with the site.
Okay. And that outside stairway comes up on the west side of the kitchen there. There's no.
Left side of the west side of the bedroom. Yeah.
On the west side of the bedroom. That looks okay.
That goes up to the roof deck. Oh, the other one goes up to the patio by the dining room. Correct.
Okay, well, this landscape, I don't see the stairway. I don't see the stairway. I only see the stairway in the center of the house going down to the bedrooms. But you have a.
Yeah, they're on the left side.
It's
on
kind of hiding under the trees there, I think is what.
right. And it's outside the kitchen right there, correct?
Correct.
Correct, okay. It comes up. Okay, no, that's all my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there another site plan showing the roof plan in relation to the surrounding homes? That's
Not
the land.
exactly.
So
It's right there above in the middle bedroom is where the roof plan is.
so the roof deck it's 15 feet away from the property line, is that correct?
No, it's 36 feet from the property line.
Oh,
The roof deck is 36 feet from the property line.
okay, all right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to determine. Is there like a Google map, aerial map? Or is that gonna
Yeah.
make it even more confusing?
That's sheet 5.
Okay, great.
So there you can see the little pop out where the roof deck is, the little blue, it kind of jogs.
Yeah.
That's where it is. There's a relationship. And
Great.
this deck, these people's backyard, now I don't want to put words in their mouth, but that's a big like Chinese elm tree or something. And it's under there.
Yeah, can you scroll up the picture? It's kind of cut off on the bottom. I just want to see, is there more? I wish I could move the drawing myself.
Yeah,
This is the full sheet that you're seeing, but I can zoom in on any area that you asked me to.
This is down in the lower corner here, the lower right, down in there. Yeah, there you go. Just okay. Well, that's fuzzier. So what's below this? Is that another lot or?
It's a vacant lot that someone is starting to build on.
Got it. Okay. And okay. All right. I think that answers my questions. Thank you. All right. Let's bring it back for comments. Board Member Art Kalian, do you have any comments, please?
I do. I appreciate the applicant addressing all points from the previous motion. I believe it's clear that the applicant has tried to follow good neighbor guidelines. I believe the proposed building is aesthetically appropriate. The mass and the bulk is thoughtful and compatible with the neighborhood. And also it is respectful, being a one-story, being below guideline heights. I'm in support of the proposed drought-tolerant plantings and landscape design, and also in support of the color palette and how the applicant has selected a calm palette of colors, and in that way it tells me that the applicant is being respectful to the surrounding neighborhood. And those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I also believe the applicant is following the good neighbor guidelines by meeting with the neighbors and adjusting the design accordingly, as well as existing hedges and new trees and hedges have clearly been studied to provide additional privacy around the whole property. The applicant is also improving the drainage on site with permeable pavers, a swale, and tanks. They're also protecting significant trees and adding new trees. And the elevations also work well with the topography of the site well within the height limits. And there's high quality details, and it's an improvement to the neighborhood. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any comments, please?
Well, my only comment is we are getting soft on architecture. What I mean by that is we put up over in the Mesa, we put up really modern houses and everybody objects to them because they don't fit the other houses in the neighborhood. Here we've got, I'm looking right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 8.5 houses that all have hip and gabled roofs with most likely asphalt shingled roofs. And all of a sudden in the center of it, you're putting 2 flat roofed, parapet styled Spanish houses, which are completely different architecture, and everybody likes it. The only reason I'm saying that is because as you compare to what's been happening on the Mesa, I hope in the future that people will go as soft on the Mesa as they have in this situation here. And I think I've made my point. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Chair Miller, before you
Yeah.
continue, I would like to ask Ms. Rydell to bring up Resolution 1805. Yeah, there. And scroll down to section 2B, please. Roman numeral 2. There are some design review criteria as part of this lot split that, here we go. I would like you to consider specifically the privacy fencing and the compatibility. Staff has reviewed this project against this ordinance.
Where are you looking, Barbara? Where?
Where it says B, design review,
Yes. Okay.
1 through 7.
Yeah.
I feel everything is fine. I would like this this board to comment on the privacy fencing and the compatibility aspects specifically, but all of that is within the purview of this board to comment on. And I would like you to just read through that before making your motion.
Okay, I haven't spoken yet. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair Miller. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so in terms of, I don't know how to respond exactly with Mr. Motisha, though I get what he's saying.
Well, that's all I wanted to say. That's just that I'm not going to enforce it, and I don't want to push it. I like different architecture. I was just bringing up the point that we, as a board and as a community, really can't decide what kind of architecture we want to be next door to other architecture.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I'd have to say for myself, and this is just speaking on behalf of myself, is the general context and bias of this community is Mediterranean Spanish colonial. So, and I think Mrs. Kalas even brought this up a while ago, that when it comes to issues like this, there is a preference and definitely what do I want to say? Like I said, a bias in terms of Mediterranean. And in the context of what Mr. Shelton has designed here, I think it's perfectly compatible, because from my experience, from my 35 years of working in architecture, modern architecture tends to be far more controversial and gets people more riled up than any other style of architecture. When it gets really edgy and modern, and it just creates another kind of reaction. So that's kind of what I would say. So anyway, that's my blathering. With that being said, he's here for design approval. Would someone like to entertain a motion, please?
Chair Miller, I wanted to, I'm not sure if I fully addressed the comments from the request from staff on providing the comments on the previous document shown on the screen.
Are you saying you're going to make a motion?
No, I just wanted to confirm if any additional comments were needed on my end from staff.
Chair Miller, I think Board Member Arakelian is asking if he could add additional comments.
Oh, of course. Please.
I believe the applicant has provided sufficiency privacy screening through the landscape design and a building design that is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. And I have driven by this neighborhood and I'm aware of how this property impacts from public views. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Arakalian, I hate to put you on the spot. Would you like to entertain a motion?
Sure. Just need a moment here.
Sure.
I would like to make a motion that we give the project design approval and that the project is to return to consent board for final approval with the level of detail that is commensurate for a final review.
And I second.
And
hold on.
He stuttered. I got my 2 cents worth in there.
And would like to confirm that this project meets the neighborhood preservation findings by the consistency in appearance. The proposed development is consistent with the scenic character of the city and will enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. With compatibility, the proposed development is compatible with the neighborhood. Its size, bulk, and scale is appropriate to the site and neighborhood. Quality architecture and materials have been used. And with trees, the proposed project does not include the removal or significant impact of any designated specimen trees, historic trees, or landmark trees. And for the health, safety, and welfare, public health, safety, and welfare are appropriately protected and preserved. And the project generally complies with good neighborhood guidelines regarding privacy, landscaping, noise, and lighting. Public views, the development, including proposed structures and grading, preserves significant public scenic views of and from the hillside.
All right, very good. And Mr. Motisha, did you second it? Is that correct?
Yes, I would like to second it.
All right, thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Board Member Arakalian.
Yes.
Board Member Klein.
Yes.
Board Member Motisha.
Yes.
And Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Is there a 10-day appeal period for that project, or should I just move on?
Yes, there is a 10-day appeal period.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on to our final item. Right on time. Wow. Okay, Mr. Shelton. Okay, 1239 East Coda Street, continued item. This project is requesting design approval. A proposal to construct a new 2,053 square foot single-story, single-unit residence with a 442 square foot attached garage on a vacant 7,030 square foot lot. The proposed total of 2,495 square feet of development on 85% of the maximum required floor to lot area ratio. Project design approval is requested. Neighborhood preservation findings are required. Project was last reviewed on April 26, 2021. Ms. Board Member Klein, do we have minutes we could read into the record, please?
Sure. The motion was made to continue to the staff hearing officer for return to the full board with the following comments. 1, the applicant shall provide further information on the general drainage approach and tier. 2, the applicant shall provide an aerial photograph to determine the neighborhood context. 3, the applicant shall confirm the color palette in the renderings. 4, the board is supportive of the design approach and will consider making project design approval at its next meeting.
Action was made by Motisha and seconded by Sweeney. 501. All right, thank you. And Colossus recused herself. All right, Mr. Shelton, would you please like to present your project?
Okay, so technically, should I just walk through the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now I get to start with the neighborhood. Because I appreciate your comments about does it fit in the neighborhood. Now I'm from this town. I've gone up and down Coda Street thousands of times. Yeah, worked on Coda Street, but you know, to me, these houses are Coda Street.
Yeah.
In Santa Barbara, and they're sleepy little houses. They're not, you know, maybe they should have been smaller for all the old Coda Street houses, but it seems like almost Diana Road is the difference. Not really, but they are their own little thing down there. But if you know, De La Guerra, Coda, Gutierrez, Voluntario, this is the type of little house, flat roof house they have. Now, I generally like to put in big houses, big sloped roofs, but in this case, it seemed like it fit. So there's my comment about that, about the neighborhood. So here we are back in our lot split back here, our developed lots, and this is the upper house. So we can look at, if you want to blow up or enlarge the house and leaving some neighborhood there. Yeah, there you go. And once again, here we go. Got to get the garage in, trying to keep a level, you know, so people don't have to go down too many stairs. In this case, we have to go downstairs to get from the garage into the house. So there's like three or four steps down. But then the rest of the house is on one level. We have our outdoor area looking at the Riviera, and that's on the lower left side. And we, as we saw in the last one, we're screening the two houses in this area so they have their own privacy. We'll be going back and looking at the neighbor there on Diana Road right across the way there. And this is what we really made our changes in the house for that neighbor. They were very nice to have us down there, and we could see a better idea of what they really needed for their privacy. Let's go to the site survey. We already seen the aerial image number 5, please. And here we go. You know, this neighbor here, the neighbor at 1228, it looks like, you know, they have a retaining wall right at our property line. So they're concerned that someone might fall off that. Now they put it in, so, but we'll put a higher fence there. There's a small fence there. We're showing a wire fence with a vine on it, right at that fence wall, mainly to keep people from falling off, and it allowed a little privacy too. We will get to the landscape plans in a second. But let's move on to the next sheet, please. Now we're talking about this view number 2 down here. We're looking up at our house, which is, there's the oak tree, and the oak tree that we're keeping, the house is right behind that. Next, please. Now this is, what do we call this sheet? Oh, this is just a site plan. Okay, so, well, we just looked at this. Let's move on to, next sheet, please. Once again, this is the original Flowers plan, and then Ashley Vance is now taken over and doing the stormwater management plan along with Kim. And right here, you don't see my cursor, but on that left-hand side is an easement that was put in with the development of the lot a water drainage easement, and that's where we're going to bring the water down into the dry wells. Next, please. This is just showing the trees, and the main thing is to protect that oak tree right there to the left side of our house. And as you'll see on the plan, that's the tree that we're preserving on this lot, on this site. Next. This is Kim's plan. She's showing native plants and a native hedge under that oak tree and other small plants that grow under oak trees. So we're really not doing much under that oak tree and irrigation much at all, whatever the arborist and Kim will say. Then as we move south, I guess west, Santa Barbara West down, we have citrus trees, which are great to use. They're solid, they're evergreen, and will be year-round screens. We have Palo Verdes, and then we have some acacias and some fruitless olives in between the two buildings. There's not a lot of planting along the driveway. Some succulents and small shrubs, and then we're showing a fruitless olive tree at the north. I guess we call it the east, top of the page. If for some reason the owners up there didn't like it, we'll basically plant whatever makes them happy that on that east side on the top of the page. Next, please. Floor plan. Once again, we're going down 1, 2, 3, 3 steps from the garage. There's just no way around that. You kind of have a warped little driveway to walk around from the apron of the driveway down to the front door. Slightly awkward, but it's the best we could do. We were able to get everybody on the same floor here. The patio is interesting. We have the roof deck. We have stairs going up, and they help as a block to the other house. So they sort of act as a little shield. So when these people are on their patio, they've got one more kind of a wall in between them. Next, please. And here's the roof deck. It used to be above the kitchen, which is between grid line 3 and 4, between C and D 3 and 4. After visiting the neighbors to the north there, we thought it was best to move the roof deck farther back. Another, let's see, I have it written down here. It's 37 feet back. Now it was 23 feet back. Next, and it's not too big. Now here's the elevations from the driveway on the bottom. Once again, we had to go to our single door. Don't do that very often, but this case, I think it works. The east elevation is facing the top of the page neighbors. We were in their house in some of those photos. We kept the windows small, mainly for ventilation. Not really view windows at all. Kept the plate heights low and the parapets low. Next, please. The view on the top, the elevation on the top is between the two buildings. So there's the staircase that sort of blocks their living area. And then the elevations, the north there is, that's facing out and looking at the Riviera. And so this whole patio, as you see there, we moved it back 7 more feet than it was. So we really reacted to the neighbors on that north side down on Diana Road. We moved the kitchen back 2 feet, and we moved the living room back 2 feet. Everything just kind of sort of pushed back there, and we took it out of the bedroom. Took the rooms out of the bedroom. Next. Color elevations. This is the terracotta version. Once again, safe, very calm colors. And in this residence, once again, I think it also really fits with the Coda Street little houses that were built there over the years. And that's really what we were going after. In fact, since that's what we were driving up and into, it seemed more appropriate than matching the Diana Road houses. Next, please. There's a color difference. There's the houses as they step down. We showed you that before. And I think the houses, different colors are good, so you don't get confused and go in the wrong house here. They're very similar. Next, please. details very similar. Window colors, exterior colors are different. I'm just reminded here, there's a neighborhood study, by the way, that we sent in to Barbara. If she can pull that up and you guys want to see it, we took pictures of houses in the neighborhood, so we can get to that after this. Next, please. Same details. We're matching the details on this. Yeah, next. Ironwork, similar details. There's not much of it. It keeps the cost down also on these projects to do that. And this has a little bit more because it has the iron stairway to the roof. The other one is a plaster guardrail. Next, please. Lamps will be similar. There will be something that's different when we're finalized. Once again, so the houses look different. Next. And this is the terracotta colored house. It has got the blue and white eyebrows. And as you can see, the entry tile facade is green and white on the upper left-hand side. That's pretty much our presentation.
I would ask Ms. Rydell to go to page 27 just to show that neighborhood photo study that Mr. Shelton provided. Thank you.
Yeah, so, yeah. So you see the Coda Street houses, there's, right on this block, there are pitched roofs, but there's some flat roofs here. Casual flat roofs, and as you keep on going down Coda Street, you know, that's and on into the neighborhood on the east side, or I guess we call it south side. That's what you end up with. Down on the bottom is Diana Road. They are distinctively different houses, but we felt we're more of a Coda Street neighborhood up on top. You know, we didn't go 2 stories like the Diana Road houses, and I think it would have been more problematic if we did do that. We kept the heights down by staying flat. So all those thoughts were put into it. We could have easily gone and raised the whole height. We had plenty of room and gone up 4 or 5 more feet with pitched roofs, but I didn't think it was appropriate.
Oh, thank you very much. Ms. Burkhart, did we get any public comment?
Thank you, Chair Miller. If you are attending by webinar and would like to comment on this item, please raise your hand by clicking the hand icon at the bottom of your screen. While we wait for hands, Ms. Fennessy, did we receive any written correspondence for this item?
Thank you, Ms. Burkhart. We did receive one public comment letter from Pandora Smethcamp, and that was distributed to the board prior to the meeting. And we do have one member in the public who has raised their hand. And I'll ask P. Smethcamp to unmute herself, and she has 2 minutes to speak.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to disagree with Mr. Shelton that the soil that is against my fence is natural downhill slope. The presence of concrete blocks, erosion control cloth over a length of 50 feet, plastic and other debris in there against the fence does not say that it's natural soil movement. Is the timer on? Thank you. My particular concern is this is unconsolidated soils that need to be removed or compacted, or something needs to be done with them. It's up to 2 feet thick against my fence, and there's a 50% slope that goes to 1421 right behind it. Please look at pictures 7 and 8 in the document I sent. This is exactly where the site drainage is going to occur. If you look at the plan that Mr. Shelton brought up, that is the exact route that this site is supposed to drain between the deck and the quote retaining wall. It's almost a 10-foot drop over 16 feet to the property line from that deck. This is not a small slope. And I'm already having water problems on my site, as are all three houses on Diana Road. We have very shallow water tables, and it's problematic. So I really do urge the board to not approve this and to require that this area be mitigated fully, and that Mr. Shelton come back with plans that show revised landscaping, revised drainage that's necessary in order for this project to proceed. Thank you.
Ms. Burkhart, can you address this issue of our purview regarding site drainage? I understand her concern, but I think the board is only limited on what they can say about that. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the project has been reviewed by the Creeks Division for stormwater compliance and have given the go-ahead for this project to move forward. And as Mr. Shelton has stated, he does have plans to resolve drainage on the site that comply with requirements. I don't know if he wishes to speak to that any further, but.
Well, I have a real quick question to interject here. It sounds, because based on the pictures that the lady just talked about, it sounds to me that what Mr. Sheldon is saying is they're going to be removing that. They just haven't done it yet. Is that a correct thing to assume?
Yes, that's correct. Look, I didn't mean to say this isn't an issue for the neighbor. You know, the site has been vacant, and so naturally water, dirt moves downhill. So, you know, that's what we're going to solve. That's what we hire civil engineers for, and then to make it feel good and look good, we hire Kim True for. So, you know, civil engineering does not want water to go in the place it's not supposed to go. That dirt will be cleared away, and the water will be going away from her property into the only really downhill place for the water to go, which flowers, which is on the site plan, which is on the lot split and the site development as a drainage easement. So, you know, I depend on civil engineers to give us great details, and I did not mean that. That's, you know, it's natural in that it's downhill and dirt goes downhill and water goes downhill, and we now have to take care of it now that we're actually developing the lots after 15 years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we do not have any more hands raised, so I'll give it back to the board.
All right, thank you very much. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any questions, please?
No questions.
Okay, and I have no questions at this time either, so I'll bring it. Oh, Board Member Klein, do you have any questions? I'm sorry.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, bringing it back to the board for comments. Board Member Arakalian, do you have any comments, please? I pronounce your name every time different every time. Sorry.
It's okay. I believe the applicant has made excuse me. I appreciate the applicant addressing all points from the previous motion, similar to the last presentation. I do believe the proposed design is compatible with the neighborhood. It's aesthetically appropriate, and am supportive of the proposed color palette and landscape design as well. I do believe the proposed privacy screening is also thoughtful and aesthetically appropriate and considerate of the neighbors. I believe the project is ready for project design approval. Those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Board Member Klein, do you have any comments, please?
I agreed with with board member Arkillian, a lot of my comments are the same as the previous lot as well.
All right, thank you. Board Member Motisha, do you have any comments, please?
Yes, I didn't insinuate or intend on insinuating that I didn't like the architecture. I was just making the statement. I also from Santa Barbara, like Jeff, and I grew up here, and I know that the majority of the houses are flat roofed, or a lot of the houses are flat roofed on the Lower East Side, and it is very Mediterranean and very what we are looking for in town. I support the project. Yes, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Motisha. I have nothing to say. I agree with all of you, so it sounds good. So with that being said, would someone like to entertain a motion, please? And he's here for project design approval.
Yes, and Chair Miller, if I could interrupt one more time, I just wanted to make it clear that Resolution 1805 also applies to this parcel. So those design review requirements that you saw earlier also apply to this project.
When you say apply, do they need to include it in the motion? Is that what you're asking?
I just want you to be aware when you're making your motion that.
So just to include that verbiage to whatever you just said, that it's the whatever. What did you?
Sure, you could include something that it's conformed to the design review requirements of Planning Commission Resolution 1805.
Okay. All right. So
I'll make a motion.
Great, thank you.
For project design approval continued indefinitely to go to consent for final with the following findings: that the project has followed the guidelines of the resolution with privacy fencing and existing hedges and new trees. The good neighbor guidelines have been followed. It's consistent with the neighborhood appearance and compatible in size, bulk, and scale. Quality architectural materials are being used. No significant trees are being removed and additional trees are being planted. The public health, safety, and welfare are being appropriately protected and preserved. The good neighbor guidelines are being followed as previously stated, and no significant public views are being impeded.
And I second it.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering, you may I have a roll call, please?
Thank you. I'll start the roll call vote. Board Member Arkillian.
Yes.
Board Member Klein.
Yes.
Board Member Motisha.
Yes.
And Chair Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. And there is a 10-day appeal period for this project. Thank you, Mr. Shelton. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, I believe that's the last item on our agenda. So I'd like to adjourn the meeting and wish you guys the best of holidays. Have a wonderful and safe time, and we'll see you next year.
Bye, everyone. Happy holidays.
Bye, everybody. Happy holidays.